This is the third part of creating a drawing for a doghouse. And in this drawing, what we're going to do is we're going to draw the side view of the doghouse. So first, to get started with, I've kind of figured out or finished off some of the inside that are hidden lines. So these are like 2x2s in here that are going to be used to build the doghouse. Okay, so you can kind of see there's 2x2 walls here and a 2x2 to support the roof up there. Okay, now you can add these in and we'll talk about these in class as well. So the next part is, how tall is this right now? Because we're going to go back to our sheet of plywood for a second. So if I go to dimension, so I'm just going to switch over here, dimension line, and go to annotate and dimension linear. And I'm going to grab from right here at the top of, or the inside of the plywood, and I'm going to go down to, and be careful here, I want this line right here because that's the bottom of the plywood. Okay, that's going to be used for the siding. So there's 2'5". So that is 2 foot, which is 24 inches, and 5 inches, so that's 29 inches. Okay, so let's just put that right there, and we'll take this one here, and we'll just move that one out a little bit further. Okay, why is this one important? Because when we use a sheet of plywood up, we don't want to waste the plywood. So 2 foot 5 inches. So I'm going to come to my sheet of plywood, and I'm going to type in offset, and it's going to be 2 foot 5 inches. And I can then take this piece of plywood, this here, and go to here. And now I'm going to label this and just type in text and specify start point right there. And it's going to be 2 inches high. I'm going to call this one the front. Okay, and I'm going to do text again right here. And 2 inches there, and I'm going to call this one the back. Okay, and what I'm also going to do right away is just dimension it. Okay, so let's just get out of that. Let's go to dimension, and from there to there now is 2 foot 5. So 8 minus 2 foot 5 now, that's how much less we have. Now, what else is coming out of this sheet of plywood? It's going to be the walls. Okay, so if I zoom in a bit here, I can now, again, I'm just going to move this further out so that we have some space here. Do like this. Okay, and dimension it. And I can zoom in and say, where's the highest point on the wall? Well, the highest point on the wall is right there. And the lowest point of the wall is right there. And then we can zoom out a bit, and we can grab 1 foot 11 inches is how high my wall material is. So I can come over to here, and I'm going to type in offset, and I'm going to type in 1 foot 11 inches. Okay, and I'm going to offset it once, and I'm going to offset it again. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim out the lines here and say, well, I really don't need between here and here. I'm going to get rid of this line here. Okay, and then I'm going to text here, and I'm going to say this is hang on, let's try that again. So text, specify the start point, height there, and type in side, and then I'm just going to copy this. So I'm typing copy, specify voice point, and I'm just going to put that there. Okay, so, and I'm actually just going to get rid of this. And this down here is now going to be, let's type in text, and we're going to start it here, and height, and this is going to be my scrap. Okay, so I'll dimension it right away. Just go here to here. So there's 1 foot 11, and again from here to here is 1 foot 11, and then from here to here is 1 foot 9. So in this doghouse, the way I'm making it, okay, I have the front and the back, which are that high, the 2 sides, which are that high, and I got scrap of almost 2 feet. So you can see that if I was to actually adjust this height of this doghouse a little tiny bit lower, what I could have is maybe this would be 1 foot 10, 1 foot 10. This would be 1 foot 10, and I could get a whole other side out of the plywood for another doghouse. Okay, so this is called your cut list basically. Okay, and you're laying out your sheet of plywood to see what you're actually going to use, right? So just remember this, because you don't want to waste a lot of plywood when we're doing these things, and that's why it's kind of important to lay out your plans. Okay, so now that I've done my plywood layout, okay, I know that I've got 4 feet deep here, so my doghouse could be 4 feet deep. I'm not quite going to make it that deep. Okay, but we're going to draw now the side of the doghouse. So to draw the side of the doghouse, this is kind of a trick here. So I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to go back to my object layer, or object lines, and I can go line. Now just watch this. I'm going to hold here for a second, and then I'm just going to come over here, and it automatically puts a line in. And then I'm going to continue my line and say my doghouse is going to be, let's go with 3 feet deep. Okay, so I'm going to say 3 feet at an angle of 0. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, and then I hit escape. Then what I'm going to do is take the line over here, and I'm going to take the very top of my doghouse, and I'm just going to kind of, let's just zoom out here for a second. Just get right there, hold it there for a second, and then it's going to come across here, and I'm just going to go across like this, and again, 3 feet at an angle of 0. Oops, I kind of just goofed that one, so let's try that one again. So go line, and grab it here, right there, and I'll get it right there, and then go across, pick it there, and go 3 feet at an angle of 0. Okay, so and that actually doesn't matter, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a line now here, and I'm going to go up like this, and then I can actually go offset, and I'm going to go 3 feet, and I'm going to go from here, go this way, there we go, and I can actually just take this line, delete it, and now just go line, or you could have extended it, and there. So there now is from the top to the bottom. Okay, then what I can do is I can take again the line, go here, okay, and this time around, let me try it one more time, go line, hold it there for a second, then come over to here so you can see how that happens. Oops, and I can't move it apparently. So let's just zoom out a bit. So I'll take a line, hold it right there for a second, then come over to here, okay, and I'm going to start there and just go this way for a bit. Okay, and it's 3, no, let's go, no, it doesn't matter. Let's just go with F8 to turn on ortho. Oops, it's going to make me do it. So 3 feet at an angle of 0. Okay, so there's now the height of my doghouse. Okay, and that's the last one I want to use right now. Is I'm going to go line, and I'm going to grab the very bottom of this, and I come across to here, and I'm just going to go again. Let's go 3 feet. You don't have to be 3 feet. I'm just using this as my number. Okay, so those are my heights now. Okay, now what I can do is I'm just going to move this. M for move, and I'm going to move this over a bit. Oops, let me try that one more time. So M for move, and I'm going to highlight all this stuff and click on that. Right mouse click, move over a bit. Okay, and then now what I can do is again go offset, and I want my doghouse front and back to have a 6-inch overhang. So I'm going to say 6 inches. Again, you're making all this up yourself. Okay, just so you know if you don't know this. So offset one more time, 6 inches, not 6 feet. And do this that way, and then do this that way. Okay, take this line, and I'm just going to extend it longer. Okay, like this, and I can just drag these like that. And then I'm going to go extend, and then I'm going to take this line, take this here, and I'm going to go, that line goes up there, that line goes to there, and extend one more from here, right mouse click to there. Okay, and then I can trim off and say, okay, well I don't need the excess of that and that. Right mouse click, so I'll get rid of that. I'm going to zoom in here, get rid of that little bit right there. Going to get rid of that little bit. Okay, and all of a sudden now, oops, and trim one more time. Take this line, right mouse click, trim there, trim there. Okay, now all of a sudden I'm having my side view of my doghouse. Right, and a couple other lines I can transfer over the siding line, so I can zoom into here a tiny bit and say, okay, well there's my siding there. So I would put it to there, and then I can go to the end right there. Okay, so there's the end of the siding. Okay, I can take my hidden lines, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the hidden line right away. And then I can take a line, and again, pick that one there, and then come across here, and it will, no, it won't, sorry. Let's try that one more time. Line, pick that line right there, hold it. It goes to there. Now I can come across and finish my hidden line off. Okay, and then same thing for the plywood, the top of the plywood. Go line, pick it here, hold it long enough. No, I can't do that. Yeah, I can. There you go. And then go across to here. Okay, and I just continue on. And next thing you know, I'm going to have the side views. This here you can't see. Okay, so what I can do, in this one I think I can just type in break this time. and I'm going to pick this line here, and it's going to ask me to break right there. Okay, and I'm going to do this one more time, pick that, and I'm going to break right there. And I'm just going to type in extend, and pick this one, right mouse click, extend that one, whoops, extend that one. Okay, and then I'm going to highlight this one because it's been broken, and that one, and that one, and then I'm going to change that to hidden lines. Okay, so slowly I'm making my doghouse side view. Right, what I'm going to do then is, I can add my 2x4s because I'm going to have some 2x4s in there, and basically finish it off. So if I just zoom in here, I'm just going to type in offset, and it's 1.5 inches. So I'm going to have a 2x4 that's at the top there, and I'm going to have the 2x4 bottom that's going to be there, and then from there, and then here, and then I'm just going to pick these, change those to hidden lines, and then I'm going to trim off because they're going to be trimmed off to here. So I'm just going to take this line and trim all that out, trim all that out, and then here I'm going to type in extend. Whoops, there we go. And I'm just going to take this one, right mouse click, extend this one here, extend one there, and there's my now side view of my internals of my doghouse. So there's my plywood sheet there, right? There's my 2x4 for my stud, or sorry, my bottom plate. There's my studs. There's my top plate. And just to show that there is a frame up top, what I'll do is I'll type in, first off, extend, let me try that once more. Extend, and I'm going to extend these lines to the top. So right there, right mouse click, put that one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, so this is going to be a little hard to see, but basically that there is the 2x4s from these ones right here that are at the front and the back to hold up the plywood when you nail the plywood on, because you got to nail the plywood onto something. So there's got to be 2x4s there for it to nail onto. Okay, so that basically is completing it, other than doing some dimensions. And once again, dimensioning it, I would probably go and change this to dimensions, and I'm not going to dimension all of it, but you have to figure out, what do I need to actually build this? So I probably need to know how far that is. So 4 feet, that's good, because a 4-foot sheet of plywood would work then. Okay, and I probably want to know the distance this way. Okay, and it's 3 feet, right? And I don't need to know the height here to here because it's on an angle, that plywood, right? So basically I don't need to know much more than 3 feet and 4 feet because all the other dimensions are kind of over here. This just shows you internally that, there's where the 2x4s go. Do I want one in the center? I could put one in the center. Do I want in here? This is 4 feet across. Do I want to nail the plywood on more than one spot? Probably. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in offset. Oh no, I'm just going to do a center line. So I'm going to go back to home, I'm going to go back to hidden line, and a line here, and there's my center point, and I'm just going to put a center line to there, and then I'm going to go offset, and half of 1.5 is 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm just going to go from here to there, there to there, and then I'm just going to delete this line, and there we go. Now it shows there's a 2x4 in the middle as well, because otherwise you wouldn't know that over here. And that is basically my set of dog plans. Okay, there's my cut list, so I know that it's all going to fit on a sheet of plywood. Okay, this stuff here now, I'm just going to move up top, and I'm going to go M for move, pick a point here. We'll just go over there so we know what all the siding and stuff is. Down in here, let's fill in. I'm only going to fill in certain aspects of this. Border, so my name, I know my name, the date. Drawing number is 1 of 1 because there's only one drawing, although we might have 2 drawings here. And scale, this is the important one. So type in text now, and it's going to be a starting point. Let's just go right here, and the height is going to be 2 inches. Okay, and I'm not sure why I got ortho on, so let's turn that off. Okay, text angle 0, and my scale is going to be 1 to 12 this time, and it's going to be 1 inch, okay, basically to 12 inches. Or you could say it is 1 inch to 1 foot. Okay, that's right, 1 foot. This should be 1 inch. Let me try that once more. 1 inch to 1 foot. Okay, so every inch that I measure on here is 1 foot in real life, or I can just say 1 to 12. Okay, I'm going to leave it as 1 inch is 1 foot. Right? So there'd be my scale. Everything else would be filled in. My title would be Doghouse in bigger font, and and then all I would do is obviously save it. Go File, Print, and here's the kicker. We got it all set up. Extent scale is 1 inch to 1 foot. I'm going to go center. I'm going to go preview. Now here's the problem. When I do this, I have this plywood over here. Well, that's not going to help us, right? So what I'm going to do actually right now is I'm going to take this piece of plywood, okay, and I'm just going to delete it for a second. So we'll just go delete, and then when I do this, go File, Print. Okay, that's all set up, and I go Preview, and now you're going to see it all fits nicely on, and I got a scrap extra line there. Okay, and then all my colors are in there, so I know all my different layers, and then away we go, and we can actually go build it then. Okay, so that pretty much completes this entire tutorial as to how to design a doghouse. It is completely up to you what you actually draw, but the bottom line is, when we do this, it cannot use up more than a sheet of plywood, and hopefully you've used up all of it and you don't have a bunch of scrap. So, the only thing I didn't do is 3 feet. So on here, offset, okay, I'm going to take 3 feet and offset it from this way. I'm going to go trim, and I'm just going to get rid of this one right here. Okay, and then trim this one basically right here. Okay, and then one more, trim this one from right here to right here. So there we go. So then I can take this one and go copy from here, and I'm going to put that one up there as scrap as well. So there seems to be a lot of scrap plywood out of this piece of plywood to make this doghouse. So in reality, the size that I made this might not be very conducive because there's a whole bunch of scrap left over. And this little 1 foot piece can't be used for anything. Okay, this piece here, yeah, if we adjust it, we could actually start another doghouse and use that. So, you get to play a bit. Do not copy this exactly, but know that there is a finished set of plans for you. And that concludes this tutorial.